Have you ever skipped a meal hoping to lose weight only to gain it back again? Have you ever blamed your slow metabolism and waited and watched someone else eat a pizza without even flinching? Today, we're talking about metabolism, weight gain, obesity, and I know today there are a lot of options out there for weight loss, such as Monjaro or Zempic. There are so many conversations happening. So, if you'd like to really understand what's happening with your hormones, your metabolism, whether they are in sync or not, maybe this episode is for you because in this episode of What's Your Story, we're going to unleash a lot of science, the stories, and serious truth bomb about weight loss, metabolism, and what it really means to be healthy. So let's dive in. Dr. Vimal Pahuja, MD, obesity and diabetes expert, founder of the International Metabolic Physicians Association, IMPA. He's a teacher, he's an educator and researcher, and in true sense, he is a metabolic specialist. Welcome, doctor. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Kanika, for inviting me to this very special topic close to my heart. And I am working with passion on this subject of obesity and metabolism. I'm delighted to be here today.
Thank you for being with us. Now, he has treated thousands of patients who've tried everything from keto to cardio, supplements, detox teas, only to discover that their bodies, their hormones, and their habits weren't actually working in sync. Did you know that the South Asian Journal says that Indians have a genetically lower resting metabolic rate compared to Caucasians? And in fact, in a 2019 study, the Lancet showed that even at a normal BMI, Indian populations carry a higher fat percentage, especially visceral fat, which increases the risk of diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. So, doctor, I'm very curious to know from you, what do we mean by metabolism? And what do people mean when they say, I have a slow metabolism, or this person has a very high metabolism?
Have you ever wondered people, eat so much and then still they don't gain weight? They're skinny as like a stick. So why it happens? So it happens because of the metabolisms. What exactly is the metabolism? It is not just one word when you're talking about metabolism. It's the entire gamut of processes which is happening inside the body. When you are eating a food, it has to be converted into energy, and that energy has to be utilized by the body. And whatever energy is there, excess energy has to be also removed from the body. This entire thing is happening in a tandem without you knowing it. So you eating and then converting that food into energy, and then energy is getting converted into a typical kind of a ATPs which we require for all the body metabolism process in the cellular level. And then you have hormones like insulin or thyroid or so many other hormones which are regulating these processes.
Yeah.
So mitochondria is like a furnace and it burns your energy, whatever you intake, and it also is burning energy while you are sitting idle. And that is called basal metabolic rate. So you are not doing anything and still the system is burning energy without you knowing it. So everybody has a certain kind of a metabolism. If somebody has a high burning rate energy or the mitochondria is very active, then you will burn a lot of energy while sitting idle, and that you say, okay, his metabolism is very good. Or somebody is not burning enough energy while sitting idle or not doing anything, you will call it a person with a slow metabolism. So as I said, brain, hormones, fat cells, gut, mitochondria, and other hormones like thyroid, insulin, all will play a role in giving you a kind of a metabolism you have.
So I'm hearing you say that your house has to be completely in order from my eating to my sleeping to my thinking, my mind. If it's all not working in tandem, that's when your basic metabolic rate can be actually much lower.
Absolutely.
That can seem like a really big task. And sometimes I'm thinking, I have been a chubby girl all my life. I'm very curious that is there a difference in metabolism of men and women? A lot of time I have seen that when I've been part of, say, a workout group and men and women have started together, it so happens that men, I feel, have or this could be my assumption, that they have a tendency of that entire workout or that regimen working a little bit better for them. So at a scientific level, I want to know this from you, that is there a difference in men and women and their metabolism?
Yeah, of course. I mean, when we talk about men and women, they have different life functions. So, women primarily, if you see, they are for the reproduction, and they have to go through the pregnancy, which is a very important state in life. So they have to have certain kind of hormones and certain kind of metabolism to go through that particular phase of life. Men on the other side, they are more of active people. If you see as a evolution, they have been people who have been going out hunting for food, use a lot of physical energy. So if you see in that context, men have a better muscle and better mitochondria. So of course, and the hormone like testosterone, it's going to play a very important role in giving the better metabolisms for men. In females, because they have to prepare those phases of life, for like pregnancy, they tend to store more fat, especially around the hips and thighs. And then that is used as a fuel during those phases of life where they need it, like pregnancy, which is very vital phase. Hence they have a slower metabolism. But if you look at the stress or those kind of events where you need more energy, women are more better equipped to face the adversities. That's why, because they have a extra storage of fat, and that fat is can be used during the crisis phase, and men doesn't have that kind of a liberty. So here we see that the metabolisms are different, and you will see that it goes in parallel with the studies which have been done as far as the weight gain is concerned. If you see now, urban India over rural India, the women gain more weight than men. So metabolic syndrome is more common in females
Okay.
than men, and there has been conclusively shown that. And that, I think, one of the reasons is there in the difference in the metabolism. But they lose weight also a little slowly, but they can sustain that weight.
So, what I'm hearing you say is because of inherent hormones, there is a difference. And for all the women who are watching this podcast, don't think that you're not doing a good job, but maybe science and biology is in such a way that women find it a little bit difficult to lose the weight that they have really put on. Thank you so much, Dr. Pahuja. That was really clarifying. And I now don't look at it as a personal failure, I look at it more like a biological failure.
Absolutely, you should look at it. It's absolutely a biological thing. Harness the leverage with an advantage which you have as a female. You are more resilient in form when you are there. There's adversity. So I think that is a very plus
I
point.
love that. I love hearing that women are more resilient. We might be fatter, but I'm sensing we are more resilient. On that note, let's move on to the next topic, which is the King Kong of weight loss. Now, there are conversations about Zepbound, Manjaro, Ozempic, which kind of suppresses your appetite and makes you more full. I'm told it changes the rate at which your stomach empties. Now, does Monjaro and Ozempic and all these new GLP-1 drugs that you have in the market, do they work on the root cause or do they provide more symptomatic relief? What is your experience?
So let's understand first what is happening when you are gaining weight and you are losing weight. Before we move to understanding how the GLP-1 or those newer drugs act on the body. Now, what happens when the obesity is there? Your body defenses are very strong. Means you have a particular kind of a thermostat in the body. Your basal weight is suppose 60 kilograms. By so many processes, by sleeping late and the stress or eating processed food or increasing the portion size and by eating the wrong kind of a food or being sedentary, all these things have disrupted the normal physiology of understanding by the brain that you have 60 kilograms of weight. So now what happens is that brain doesn't understand that you are gaining fat in the periphery. So it still understand that you have a 60 kilograms, but the truth is that you can see your belly growing. That's called disruption. The signal is completely disrupted. So this is actually the obesity. This is a disease where the body organs are not talking properly to each other. There's a communication difference. And you know what happens when there's a communication difference inside the
Sure do.
family, right? There'll be chaos. And this is a chaos. It is not very simple that I will eat less. Okay, let me diet and
Mm.
move more, and things will happen, because that is you're applying physics to your body. But you cannot apply physics to your body. There's a biology involved, which is brain. So that's the reason people don't lose weight and they get frustrated. So weight cannot be equated with the obesity. Weight is the expression of obesity. Understand this. And how the obesity is evolving, because so many hormones are getting disrupted inside by doing these wrong things over the period of time. And this happens right from the womb of the mother. When you're inside your womb, when there's wrong programming happening, which is called fetal programming. If the fetal programming is not right, your mother has not had nutritious food, is lacking B12, which the studies have shown by Dr. Yagnik in Pune. He has done a linear studies over years and years, and they have found out that if the mother is malnourished and lacking in B12 and essential nutrients, the babies born have more chances of getting diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Their pancreas are weak, and they tend to become more obese. Undernourished children tend to become more obese. So it's not only the genes, the changes which occur throughout your body, throughout your lifespan give rise to obesity. So this is such a kind of disease. Now, what happens when you start losing weight? You're trying to lose weight. You lose 5 or 6 kilos, but the brain still understands that you are starving now. You're not eating much. The signal is going that you're starving. Remember, it is not a healthy signal. And what happens? The body forces, which tend to give you hunger or tend to put those weight processes again back to normal, they start increasing. There are hormones like neuropeptide YY or ghrelin hormone, which will give you hunger. They start increasing again, and they will tend to take you back to the same weight where you have started, or maybe overshoot that. Body forces are trying to resist that weight loss which you have done. Set the point. Set the point means brain has set the point that this is your weight, that you cannot move from 85. See, understand the disruption. What
Yeah.
has happened? Brain reads at 60, but you are actually 85, so it doesn't allow you to move the weight. So it tends to bring you that to same weight. Now the drugs which you're talking about, like GLP-1 or Zepbound or Munjaro, what they are doing, they are trying to change the hormonal balance. They are trying to alter the signal which is going from the fat cells to the brain, and they are trying to improve that signal. They are trying to allow the brain to read that there is something wrong going inside in the periphery. You're not understanding, so you should stop eating more. This should
Yeah.
actually should be doing. When
Certainly.
you are gaining weight, they should not be eating and should be burning more calories,
Mm.
because you have to balance that weight, and it is regulated in that way. Your body is programmed in that way to regulate the weight
Yeah.
smoothly so that you don't gain weight or you lose weight, but doesn't
Mm.
happen. So
Doesn't
when
happen.
you start using these drugs, the regulations start to happen, so you don't gain weight, you don't have appetite, you feel nauseous, is because of the medications effect, of course, because you're trying to stop the stomach from emptying faster, so you feel full, you feel nauseous. At the periphery also, the brain, the adipose tissue, which is the fat cells, health of the adipose tissue improves. Adipose tissue becomes more capable of accepting excess glucose which you are eating. So that's why you don't gain weight inside the organs, which is called visceral fat. Visceral fat is the fat which is inside the organ, like the liver, around the kidneys, around the heart. There is ectopic fat. The fat should not be there at these organs, changing the signal, improving the brown fat or improving the mitochondria, which can release more energy and make you lose weight. So these things are happening, and these drugs tend to stop those forces which will make you gain weight. But till you keep taking the drugs, those forces won't act.
Thank you for that explanation. And that is exactly what my next question was going to be. You and I both have been in healthcare for a very long time.
Yes.
And we all understand that every drug has its side effects as well. So my question to you is, what really outweighs the side effects of Munjaro, if there are any, or Ozempic, or the weight you carry around your belly? Now, if you had to choose one bigger devil, which one would you really choose?
Yeah, let's understand the side effects and what are the gray areas. So first of all, the basics mechanism by it works is it slows down slows down your gastric emptying, so it doesn't allow you to empty the stomach, so you feel full and nauseous. And that's how the drug works. You may call it a side effect, but I call it the effect of the drug. Right? This is how it
Sure.
works.
Yeah.
So there'll be nausea, you feel vomiting, and sometimes people have experienced diarrhea and constipation. So these are the usual effects which you will see this with these medications, and I think these are the effects of the drug, which generally tend to settle down over a period of few weeks, or once you change the dose, probably increase the dose, you tend to get those effects again. But they can be easily mitigated with some medications, the supportive treatment. 8 out of 10 people can definitely take the medications, tolerate this well, and then can carry forward. There's no adverse effect on any of the organs, which has been seen with these medications. Animals or the human studies, the clinical trials, have not shown any adverse effect. In fact, there's a reverse effect. It protects your liver. It can reduce the fibrosis or cirrhosis, which may happen because of the fatty liver. The evidence with the semaglutide or Wegovy has shown that it can protect the kidneys, can reduce the proposition of you getting onto dialysis, also reduce the heart attacks. These drugs, in fact, help in depression and in anxiety, because people with obesity are more suffering more from anxiety and depression. When they start losing weight, they feel more confident about themselves. It improves the psychiatric conditions. This the benefits are much higher than what the side effects you can see.
So benefits kind of
They
outweigh the
outweigh
side
the
effects.
the risk to a much larger extent. But word of caution, do not use the drugs if you have these medications earlier, or if you have family history of specific carcinoma called medullary thyroid carcinoma. You should
Okay.
not use it. If you have history of pancreatitis earlier in the past, we tend to be cautious not to use drugs in those patients.
When we look at obesity, there is obviously an aesthetic element of obesity. Any you ask any adult out there, are you fat? There could be a high possibility because of social conditioning. You'd say, "Oh, I wish I was thinner." But we also have to look at obesity in the real sense of it. When you're really obese, it is really affecting your lifestyle. It has such severe impact on you. And in cases like this, I'm sensing this drug could be so much useful. While weight loss is the secondary effect of this drug, the initial usage of this drug was more to take care of the type 2 diabetes that exists. Now, can Munjaro or Ozempic, can it really help reverse pre-diabetes, especially in Indian context of Indian adults?
Yes, so people who have weight on them
Hmm.
and they have diabetes, and if they lose weight, you can have a reversal of diabetes. So somebody has got 90 kilograms of weight, by example, and he's been diabetic for 4 5 years, and he takes few medications, not on insulin, can reverse the diabetes with by virtue of these medications completely, from 9% to 6% to 5.7 also. If he loses 20 25% of body weight, 15% of body weight, diabetes can be reversed in many patients. Up to 80% of people can reverse the diabetes with these medications.
This is really important to understand and hear. For many years, I used to work for Baxter, which had peritoneal dialysis.
Yes.
In my experience of having worked in that company for 10 years, I realized there used to be so many patients who would come to us. And when you ask them, what led to your damage of your kidney, more or less, there were usually two things that people would say. Either they said, I had high BP for the last 10 years, or they would say, I had high diabetes
Sugars, diabetes.
and diabetes. And they used to be in such a bad state that the diabetes in their body had actually affected their veins. So even if you're trying to say put a catheter up here for dialysis to happen, most of their these veins that you have used to not really operate very well, and we couldn't really do even dialysis very well on patients who actually had diabetes. So I'm thinking it's taking care of such a huge problem that people don't realize that, but diabetes over 10 years can be so damaging to so many organs of your body.
Absolutely. Now, if my own practice used to see with the patients who are creatinine of 1.5 used to come after 5 years and used to be on dialysis. Now I'm holding the patients on the same creatinine for 7 years now. So you can understand how many lease years they are getting
Yeah.
not to go on dialysis. Your life expectancy is going to increase by 10, 20 years. So that's what these drugs are going to do. So your longevity is definitely going to increase if you take care of your body in the right tone, right way,
On the right
the
and the
right
wrong. Yeah.
prescription, with the right expectations, and doing your bit, which is you has to be done.
Interesting. No, this is very, very helpful. But I'm going to move into now to asking there's a lot of conversation out there to say, are these weight loss drugs like Mounjaro and Ozempic, are they only for the elite? Now, I've done some research. I am told that it's typically for a time of 72 weeks that one needs to take the drug, which is a little beyond a year. And the average, I have found out that the average drug dosage for 5 mg is about 4300 in India. So if you have to, for an example, if you've been in the drug for a year, and not the starting dosage and not the tapering dosage, but I'm talking about the center part of it. If it's say about 10 mg, so we're talking all roughly about 8,000, 9,000 rupees per week. So is it fair to say that the average amount of money that you would spend on a drug like this would be 50,000? Is that an okay approximation?
Now remember, when we are talking about weight loss here, we are not talking that you want to make you thin. We are here to give you metabolic health.
Yeah.
So when we look at a person like a diabetes, how much weight loss I want? I want 10%,
Yeah.
which can be easily achieved by
Okay.
not only Munjaro or maybe Wegovy, but there are other drugs which are there, like liraglutide, which can also help our patients to lose weight. They are very cheap now.
Okay.
The costing will be around 3 or 4,000 rupees per month. We don't have to give a 30 kilo or 40 kilo weight loss to each and everybody. That what is your goal? What diseases you have? What is your stage of obesity? So we stage the person. You have type 2 diabetes, you are in stage 2. You have an osteoarthritis, you have stage 2. You have heart disease, you are in stage 2. But if you have a person who has got heart disease tented early already, he's going into stage 3 because he's living the complications. This is a weight loss, and that can be easily achieved with a shorter duration of time, 6 months. You should buy these 6 months to inculcate those behavioral changes. Circadian rhythm, the circadian clock has to be adjusted and corrected. Number two, resistance training and protein intake is very important. Eating right and moving more, rhythm has to be corrected. sleeping in time, screen time, all this have to be corrected. So if you do that within this 6 months, you need not necessarily take the drug for 72 weeks, as you said. I want to lose 20, 30 kilos, I want to be there. Then you can, then elite can only afford that kind of a medication because it's costly, and we understand that it is going to be 40,000. But biosimilars will be sooner available. Once the
Okay.
patents are gone, you will see a lot of biosimilars coming in. There are 10, 12 drugs which are going to be in the market. You will see everybody, these drugs will reach to all the spheres.
Thank you. I'm summing up what you just said. So, what I heard you say is, first of all, when you're on some of these drugs, do not look at your weight, look at your disease condition at that moment. And that in turn should decide this is a drug, not a vanity kit. So, let's not look at it as aesthetics, but
Yes,
look at it more as something that your body needs. And while, of course, there can be aesthetic uses of the same, but this we should look at the underlying diagnosis of where what your body is really telling you. What I also heard you say is it's about ticking all the right boxes. So the drug alone is not going to do anything unless you're going to make those systemic changes of your circadian rhythms, your protein intake, the strength training that you're doing. So it's an amalgamation. So it's a lifestyle change. It's not just a drug induction that you're doing to your body.
absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you so much. So I want to shift the conversation to something lighter. I'm going to do a quick myth of fact because I there are so many myths out there about health and weight that I'd like for you to clarify for
Sure.
us. So the first one, obesity runs in the family because no one runs in the family. Myth or fact?
It's not entirely a myth. If you have a genes, then you also will be slightly heavier than the normal person of same age and gender. But it is like 40-60, you can see. 40% genes, 60% your lifestyle.
Okay, some of my friends want to know this. One glass of wine is good for heart.
Not entirely true. If you eat Mediterranean diet, along with that, the red wine, which is has got resveratrol, is shown to be beneficial, but the evidence is modest. There is an association, not the causation. You can enjoy your wine once a while, but that doesn't mean that it might protect you from heart disease.
Interesting. Would you agree? There's a lot of conversation that magnesium is good for sleep. Myth or fact?
Magnesium studies have been shown to help melatonin, increase the melatonin and induce sleep. These are very, very small studies, and they have shown a very weak effect. However, magnesium, you get in good magnesium from your diet.
That really clarifies because there's a lot of conversation about have magnesium before you go to sleep. There are a lot of these celebrity cosmetologists who are talking about lemon balms that you should take because that kind of melts away the fat around your wrist. Is that a myth or a fact?
Absolutely a myth. There's a lot of other things which they do, like 15 vitamins people take. I take my omega 3, I take my magnesium, I take my this, I take my that coenzyme Q. Actually, in anti aging products which they are trying to sell, there's still not an evidence which shows that it can help you. Mumbai would have become another, blue zone where people have started living 100 years. That's not happening, right?
That's not.
That's
For
not
that,
happening.
for that you need to go to Japan, and you have
Absolutely.
to be in Okinawa to do that.
So that's the kind of right diet with the eat. They
Absolutely.
don't party till 4 o'clock, right? They walk more. They keep walking, and they
Yeah.
eat a very very simple, sophisticated diet,
Yeah.
which we
Which is
don't
very
do.
high in protein, which is very fish and of course.
Fish protein, which no masalas, absolutely bland kind of a diet, which we will not eat. So their diet is different. Their genes are different, and
Hmm.
they don't take any anti-aging medicines.
I like that. You said their genes are also very, very different.
Absolutely.
Thank you for saying that. There is tech fatigue, food delivery culture, demanding jobs, and it sometimes feel like we are swimming against the tide. I was recently reading it somewhere where it said sitting is the new smoking. Can you walk us through what happens to our body when we live a very sedentary life? What's the
Absolutely.
impact of insulin resistance?
Yes. What happens to an amphibian when he goes in the hibernation phase? Why they go in hibernation phase? They want to store the fat, right? They want to prepare for the crisis because that time they will not get any food and water. So they go in hibernation. When they come out, then they start utilizing that. So that means when you are sedentary, your body tends to store the fat. There are hormones called lipoprotein lipase, becomes active to store all your fat, and your mitochondria also slows down because if you're not moving, there's no signal which is coming to your furnace or mitochondria. It takes a signal from the muscle movement. So if not moving, your mitochondria also becomes idle. Your body metabolism will slow down. You start storing more and more fat, and then you will become obese, and then you invite all other diseases. That's why it's important to move around throughout the clock. It's not just exercise which you do for 30 minutes or do running for 30 minutes and you're sitting throughout.
All
That is
day.
not what we say as a being physically active. We say physically active when you're moving around throughout the day. Try to get up, stretch your body. 1 minute you should move around so that the body gets a signal that you are active. So squats, push-ups, they can be easily done, making you active.
So what I'm hearing you say is very interesting. So you're saying don't be fixated about that I go to gym 4 or 5 times a week. That is good for you. But what you're also recommending further is that maybe those this logic of those 10,000 steps of 10,000 steps is the concept of being on the move throughout the day, because that's how I'm hearing you say that we are firing the mitochondria, we are firing the mind signals, and we are not making our body think that we're actually hibernating.
People
Okay.
who are weekend warriors, the weekend warriors who tend to do only things on the weekends.
Weekends.
You be active throughout the week, but if you're doing exercise only on the weekends, you still have a chance to reduce your cardiovascular mortality. That's a very interesting paper which is suggesting that weekend warriors also make it up if they are doing exercises for last two days of the week.
Makes sense. And this whole concept of take a small walk after you have a big meal, would you subscribe to that?
Yes, it's a very important aspect of controlling the blood sugars also. And
Okay.
there are many papers and research to suggest 10 to 15 minutes of a walk after the meal can
Hmm.
reduce your postprandial blood sugars. It
Okay.
itself can reduce the postprandial blood sugars by 30 to 50 points. And
It can. Interesting. I think that's an easy one for anybody to actually incorporate in their lifestyle. Now, isn't it true to say that we are the most tired generation that can't fall asleep? And maybe we have partly our screens to probably blame for it. And studies also show that 1 hour of nighttime screen exposure can suppress your melatonin by almost 23% and disturb your circadian rhythm. How does screen time affect our hormones, metabolism, and weight regulation?
here's a research done by Dr. Sachin Pandya. It was from showed that this melatonin gets suppressed by the screen, and that's why the blue screen tends to suppress the melatonin by 23%. And that's why you see all the US screens have been moved to orange screen now because it changes your biological clock, circadian rhythm. The clock genes get affected. Because of that, you get all the diseases. Entirely, you name diabetes, you name obesity, you heart disease, you autoimmune diseases also, rheumatoid arthritis. They are also because of the change in their clock genes or circadian rhythm. Try to dim your lights. Be in dim lights, not in a very bright light. And get exposed to morning sunlight. When you get up, go to the morning sunlight, get exposed so that body clock gets resetted again and you start moving again with the day.
How interesting is that? So, last one question, which is that according to the Indian Journal of Endocrinology and Metabolism, over 70% of Indians are vitamin D deficient. Vitamin 12, iron, folate deficiencies are common across people. And I see so many people, like you said, no 50 multivitamins being popped up. How do multivitamins really work? And are they really a quick fix? What do you have to say?
Vitamins always required in a micro quantities for processes which we do on day-to-day basis without we knowing it. Now understand this, that your diet has enough vitamins which you are taking with enough vitamins to support your all the cellular processes. Only people who are not taking a balanced diet may find difficult to support all these processes and may feel tired. And of course, vegetarianism is one thing which has led to B12 deficiency. So B12 deficiency is very common, which can affect your nerves and brain and memory and so on and so forth. Vitamin D is one thing which has a lot of controversies in, and still a lot of schools of thoughts are emerging on that. Now you have said that your deficiency is less than 30, but now the recent evidences or such research says 20 to 30 is also okay for bone health. You don't have to go beyond that. Yes, see a lot of vitamin D toxicity coming up, 70, 80, 100, 120. Vitamins are the spare parts of their any car, small spare parts. So that can be used in a minuscule quantity. You don't, they are not quick fixes, right? If you need it, you take it. If they are
Does collagen work? There's so much conversation about collagen helping in anti-aging. Does it?
again, as I said, anti-aging research is still evolving, and collagen has its role. As I said, if they are deficient somewhere and if your body needs it, you might take it under supervision. But again, it is not a quick fix. That's not a magic bullet. You take collagen and your skin will become better, and this happens. Same thing with glutathione. That is not like a tonic which you keep taking again and again. That can be harmful. We
That
don't know the effects of glutathione long term on the liver. We don't know the effects of collagen on the liver or kidney long term. It may do more harm than good. for you.
Then this is really helpful. I'm very sure our listeners have really taken away a lot. If I before I was to sum up this whole conversation, I'm remembering a French proverb I heard some years back, which said, "Tell me what you eat, and I will tell you who you are."
Oh, yeah.
But I'm sensing that's not really the whole story, because you've told us that obesity is more like can be an also fetal programming. We also heard you say that weight is an expression of obesity. While a lot of us focus on the physics of it, let me go to the gym, but weight gain is almost like the biology. And it's actually keeping these two together that might help you with weight loss. Final conclusion to say women find it more difficult to lose weight as compared to men, that we need to be firing our mitochondria a little bit better. And that can be done by a better circadian rhythm. Don't let your body think that we are hibernating so that it starts accumulating, and keep sending those constant signals to your brain. This whole thing about weight gain, metabolism is a little largely more complex. It's not so easy. It's not because you eat more is why you're fat. There are so many underlying principles, and that's why talking to somebody like you, who's a metabolic specialist, probably is the right way for us to be going forward. Also, thank you for clarifying the myth that Munjaro is not only for the elite. If you have a health reason and not a vanity reason, then I'm sure all of these new age drugs are more like a boon and not really a curse.
Correct. You should use these anti-obesity medications. They are not the weight loss drugs. They are anti-obesity medications. Think that obesity is disease first. We're still not realizing that obesity is a disease. Like you realize blood pressure is a disease or diabetes is a disease. People think still this is a weight, not obesity. So it's very difficult to separate weight from obesity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pahuja. That has been so helpful. And I have learned so much through this podcast. Thank you so much from your time. And thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting, and it was lovely talking to you, Kanika. Thank you so much.